Hey, we're back. Video 4. Up to this point, we have created the rolling chassis for our robot. Um, one thing that I'm going to get into now is in a normal FRC season, if you had this whole thing sketched out, um, we're at a point now where we can start fabricating some parts. To do that, um, we did a lot of the wrong thing, which was have a laptop in the build room, and have this three-dimensional CAD up and do dimensions, measure stuff out, and that didn't work. Or it worked, but not very well. So what I'm going to walk you through now is how to create, from our fabricated parts, how to go ahead and create dimensioned two-dimensional drawings that that you can give to somebody on a team and have them fab it up and pop a part on a Bridgeport, or possibly to a CNC. So get into that in a minute. The first thing I want to do though is a little bit of housekeeping in our part tree here. The first thing I want to do is break the link here for these four modules. I don't envision making any more changes to the actual module themselves. So it's kind of pointless to keep that link there. So I'm gonna break that first one and then I'm gonna break it again. This error message down here is nothing to be concerned about. What this is saying is, hey, you used that link part in a sketch that you created. We've now broken that link. It's not that big of a deal. So the first thing I want to do now is organize the four of everything into sub-assemblies. So I'm going to assemble a new component. And the easiest one now is just to do the swerve modules. Call it that. And then to drag them all in there, you can control or shift click all these, and we'll just drag them all down and put them into that folder. We're going to do the same thing for the bumpers. So again, assemble a new component. We're going to call it bumpers. And then I'm going to shift click all those, put it in there. And then I'm going to make a third one finally for the extrusions frame. So assemble, new component, frame. Okay. So now that everything's been organized a little bit better, it's nice because if you want to turn all the bumpers on and off, you just have to click the assembly and they'll all turn off. Same thing with the frame, but that's kind of important, so we're not going to turn. So at this point of the game now, or at this point of the assembly here, what we're going to do is we're going to bring these 1x2 extrusions into the 2D part of Fusion360 and create manufacturer drawings. Now to do that, this is going into a new workspace here. Typically, the last 3 videos we spent in design. But we're going to bring this down and go into drawing. And then we don't have any animation, so it's going to be from design. Okay. When you're prompted now, it says, what reference do you want to create it from? Visible only. So anything that's visible. Or we can go ahead, do the full assembly. Or we can also select components. For now, I'm going to show you what visible only looks like. And we'll also, maybe in later videos, if we do a fab, I'll do a select only. So we'll do visible only. We're going to create a new drawing. Templates from scratch, that doesn't change. Now, one thing I would recommend here is using the ASME standard. So ASME is English or American units. ISO is European. And then you're going to use your inches. And then for the sheet size, it's kind of up to you. I typically do all of these in B size, so 17 by 11. And then we're going to go ahead and click OK. And what it's doing while the wheel is turning, it is preparing our two-dimensional drawing so that we can drag in whatever parts that we want to do a dimension drawing on. So the first thing you'll see here is it says place base view. Okay, this is the kind of the starting point for your entire drawing. You can, I haven't clicked anything. I can basically place it wherever I want. And then there's also the box up at the top right, which I'll get to in a minute. Okay, so we'll just do this. Place that base view. So I clicked and placed it there. Now, what I can go ahead and do is change which viewpoint I want the part to be drawn in. So here it comes in as front. I can change it to the top view. So it's just like looking down on the part from the top. The left and right are basically going to be identical. I can also do an isometric base view. I've never used it. It helps for envisioning. We might add one later to show, hey, this is the part you're making. But in terms of manufacture, I wouldn't stick with any of the isometrics. So for right now, we're going to do, we came in as a front, we're going to do the front. Don't have to worry about changing any of these things down here. I did skip over the scale though. The scale is basically how much are the parts scaled down to fit on the paper. You can make it 1-to-1, which completely blows the paper, blows it out of the water in terms of the paper. I would just say find a scale that fits. It just fits on the sheet, and you can after we find a scale that fits, even though the drawing is off of the paper, we can move that later. Everything else you don't touch, and we'll just click on OK. Now you'll see it's bringing in everything, because remember we did, when we were over here, we said do what's visible. Well, at the end of the, when this is done, we're going to be able to turn on and off what components we actually want to dimension and draw. This does chug a little bit, so we'll wait. So now you can see it's taken our shaded drawing in and just made it a line drawing. Okay, so now what we can do is we'll move this. Now to move it, it's a little bit different. You have to come up here to the modify. I've clicked on it once. I'm going to click on this modify, and then we're going to select the base point kind of right in the middle of that, and then we're just going to drag it on to better fit the page. Okay, so that's done, and then we click OK in the box. Now we want to turn off, essentially we want to isolate one of those 1x2 extrusions, right? So for now, we don't care about the swerve modules. So I am going to uncheck that. And then I don't care about the belly pan. Okay, so now all we are looking at is those 1x2 extrusions. But you can see here, I got the front, one side, hidden behind it is the other, and then the back. I don't need all 4 of them. I just want one of them. So I'm going to come here and just start turning stuff off. There we go. So essentially now, this is our part. It's pretty boring, right? What we have to do though is the detail is on the top and the bottom. Remember we had to drill those holes to mount the swerve modules to? So what I have to do is make a different viewpoint of this. And that's comes up here as a projected view. Okay, so what I do here, you first have to select a parent view. And obviously we want to pick that part. And then it says, where do you want to place the projected view? So now if I go up or down, you can see it's the view from the top. If I go right, it's the view from the right of the part or the left of the part. Well, we want the top one, right? Because we want to be able to put some information behind where those holes are and how big they are. So I've already clicked on this, and then I'm going to click on the green checkbox. Okay, now we've got a little bit more detail. This is great. But the critical thing now is the dimensions. So I'm going to go at this with a Bridgeport in mind, because that's what we have, our team readily has access to. And with a Bridgeport, there's a couple of different styles of dimensions, but with a Bridgeport, there's a dimension style called an ordinate dimension. And what that essentially does is you pick an origin point on the part. Everything is then referenced from that origin. So in this case, if I select this bottom, I'm going to call that 0, 0, right? Then I come over here, I can zoom in. I'm going to select the center of that hole. And then I'm going to select the center of this hole. I'm going to zoom out. I'm going to come all the way over here. Select that hole and that hole. And we're done. So I'm just going to hit the enter key or escape. That works. So essentially what this is, it says, okay, if this is my 0 point, this hole is 1 inch off from it. This one is 2 inches. Then we come all the way down. This one's 14 inches and this one's 15. Okay, so we're going to do it again, but I need to get the center line of that part. I mean, it's not rocket science to be able to say, okay, this is 0, and then I come up here and call that a 1/2 inch. Okay. So essentially, though, what this does is it says it picks a 0 point, and then everything else is referenced from that. So when you're on the Bridgeport, you can get highly accurate. You don't have to remove the part, relocate it, or you don't have to say, okay, if I put this one at 2 inches and the next hole is 12 inches apart, 2 plus 12, okay, that's 14. You don't have to do any of that. I mean, granted, these numbers are pretty easy to work with. So the next thing we got to do is go ahead and add the diameters of these holes. A word of warning, the holes we put into this part are the exact same as the holes that were in the swerve module. You might, depending on the application, what the hole serves, is it just a clamp force or does it have to actually locate something? You may have to tweak holes, but for us, we're just going to assume that the holes in the swerve module are the holes we want drilled in here. So to do that, we come back up here to dimensions, and then we do a diameter dimension. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in here, select that part, and then you can see it's 0.1495 inches. Hope you got a drill bit that size. Now, if you wanted to, you could, I think you can edit that. And then a little tidbit is if you want to say all those holes are 1.1495, you just add the word or the letters TYP, typical. So that typical means every hole you see in this drawing is 0.1495 in diameter. What else? The last thing we want to do, I missed a dimension because how long is this part? based on the information that I've done so far, I have no idea how long this part is. So I just realized I missed that dimension. So again, I'm going to add the ordinate dimension. Okay, the edit there was because it took me a minute to figure out how to actually add the dimension in. Okay, so we've already assigned our 0 point for our ordinate dimension. So all I have to do is come up here and click on the ordinate dimension. If I come down here and drag it down, that tells you how long the part is. So now let's say I wanted to add some that isometric view to help somebody understand what part this is. You're calling it out. So if you wanted to add a separate view to it, you come back up here, and then again you click create on base view, and again it's gonna let us do it like wherever we wanted. In this case, it's still got everything turned on. We're gonna check one of the isometric views. That looks about right. And then we'll click on OK. We'll come back. So now we've added this isometric view, and again, we want to kind of turn on and off some of this stuff. So we're going to turn off the bumpers. It shows up again. It shows up in this tree as another part of the sketch, or as another assembly. So again, we're going to turn off the belly pan, and we're going to turn off the bumpers. We'll probably keep the swerve modules in there. There. So we're done explaining the part. So then all we got to do here is come in and add a note. We'll zoom in. We'll select this edge. And we'll just say part as shown, and then we'll say for required. Okay. So then once we're done with that, this drawing now has all the information that anybody would need to go and cut this part out. It's not a very complex part. It's 1x2 aluminum extrusion. It's got 4 holes. We're not going to worry about the these little half holes on the end. That's something we could fit if we could deal with a like a grinder or something along those lines. They aren't being used for fasteners, so we'll figure those out in the end. But for now, I've got the 4 holes I need. I've got all the dimensions lined up. So this part, or this drawing, is now ready for fabrication. So what you can do is you can just export it as a PDF and open it up. So you'll say where do you want to save it. You can either save it locally to your computer, or you can put it over here. It would exist in the cloud. So we're just going to put it on my computer here. Let's call it temp. And it's exporting. And this is what it ends up looking like. So again, easy way to get a 2D drawing, 2D dimensioned fabrication drawing from a 3D model and component. So that's it for this part. We'll probably come back to this once we get more parts fabbed up. And then the next video is going to be more, I'm still kind of throwing around ideas as far as the robot goes, but I'm going to show you a way to use use bodies or use assemblies. So remember, we've got all these assemblies, how we can use those to create some custom like tools and aids. So more to come in that video next. Thanks.